we can trim if we want, but it's now loading the seminar into the live stream, and then we'll take and embed the video into Chicagoland chats. Let's see here. We have been redirected to YouTube, and it appears to be working. We're going to give it a couple seconds so I can get those embedded codes up, so nobody's going to miss any of their pearls of wisdom that Ramzi has to offer. And then Butch, you can send the same. Copy embed code. I tell you, the Wi-Fi infrastructure is definitely getting called out.
Yeah, getting taxed.
Mm-hmm. Certain countries were actually worried that Netflix and what other places would fry their whole system.
Pornhub, I think.
All different types of streaming services. All right, so we're.
Oh, we are live.
That's recorded. Right. We're live. Your wife's gonna say, "How do you know about that?"
All righty, so we're putting this up on there. Yeah, exactly. Join us for a Q&A with Ramzi, and we'll edit this down for like the one that's kept in perpetuity. On
from
Edwards Realty.
So am I supposed to do anything right now?
Right now you're good. I'm just going to post that up, ready to go, and it's now been embedded and posted on Chicagoland chats. Hi everybody, we are live. We've been live for a little bit, so I apologize for the delay, but we really wanted to get up the video for everyone so they can share and like and jump into the conversation with Ramzi, our guest today, Ramzi Hassan from Edwards Realty. Before we get to you, Ramzi, I always like to let Butch introduce himself, and I'll then introduce myself so people know who's talking on this three-way call. So Butch, introduce yourself for everybody.
I'm Butch Zemar from Elite Benefits. I help small to mid-sized companies with health insurance and worksite benefits.
My name is Adam Serwinski with Sidebar Insurance Solutions. We're an independent insurance agency solving any of your home, auto, or business insurance needs. And today, as we review things and we're talking about supporting and taking care of our communities, we thought a great guest would be Ramzi Hassan here from Edwards Realty. Ramzi, I'm going to let you talk about the myriad things that you and your business do to both support, manage, own commercial space throughout the Chicagoland and Midwest area.
Sure. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Ramzi Hassan, President, Edwards Realty Company. And first and foremost, thank you for forcing me to comb my hair and take a shower and put on some clothes that don't look like I'm working out and not really working out. So we're a family real estate company that owns primarily retail assets in the Chicagoland area, suburbs. We have a project in St. Louis. We have a project in Southwest Michigan, and we manage all of our own centers. So we like to think that we have the pulse of our tenants and our customers and the communities in which we do business. So we recognize, pretty early on. So we've been a company for 29 years. My father started the business. I joined him almost 20 years ago. But have worked with them since I could remember. So we truly are a family business. I've had siblings that work for us now, ones that have, but even the culture that we create here is really more of a family type culture with all our employees. So, and we extend that, we look at our tenants like our extended, family. Of course, every family has weird uncles and, cousins that fight and things like that. So truly, in the sense of the word, I think we are one big, mostly happy family when you encompass all of the relationships in the Edwards Realty world. So we realized, early on that we wanted to own significant, type properties in communities and really contribute and be impactful in the communities we do business in. So, we make concerted efforts to, join local organizations such as the Orland Chamber of Commerce, which Adam and I are on the board. And I think we really do a lot of great things even now. I think, more than ever, it's very, very important. And I'm very proud of what the chamber has done so far and will continue to do. But yeah, that's that's kind of it in a nutshell, and we can get into more specifics. But I don't know where to start. Where do you want me to start? Do you want a funny anecdote? Do you want some serious information? Where because it runs the gamut. I mean, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly in these times.
Yeah, I think we're really looking for, and I think hopefully people are trying to figure out is what is the current state of things. Let's take it in chronological, like with regards to the state shelter in place orders. What are you guys as commercial hubs, as mall owners and managers, what does that mean for all of these businesses, et cetera? What are you seeing? And then maybe we can in the future talk about the later steps and what you're doing. But let's start with where we are right now.
Sure. So with okay, I guess when this whole thing kind of started, we didn't know how far it was going to go. So it's kind of hard to plan. And that's what we've always said. It's really, really hard to plan what's happening, what's going on, and how to react to it if you don't know, how the extent of it and how long it's going to last. And, when you have government basically telling you what you can and cannot do. So it's extremely difficult for businesses to plan for, both small, medium, and large. So when we knew that this was going to be, an issue, but we didn't realize the stay-at-home or shelter-in-place, orders were coming to fruition, we were kind of planning on some type of a closure, some type of, adjusting to consumer needs. And then, shelter in place happened, and everybody thought, including us, that it was going to be a pause for maybe 2 weeks or 30 days. So I think that business and, society in general could probably handle, like a 30-day pause, like, hey, let's all stay at home, let's do our part, and then let's get back, right back into it. It's almost like an extended, snow day, or something, when you're off for a couple days and you get right back into it. So I think that was, on the optimistic side, and we're, here to be, especially in the retail business, we have to be eternal optimists and, really think that things will get better and people are going to want to go shopping and congregate, and there's going to be this pent up demand. So, if the pendulum swings one way where nobody can do anything and you're a hero if you sit on your couch and do nothing, to the other way of like wanting to just get out and not only support your communities, but support your local businesses, your retailers, support your own sanity of just getting out. I think, I think we thought that would be a pretty quick, or that could happen pretty easily if there was a 30-day, pause. And in discussing with our tenants, their reopening plans, all those things, we thought it was pretty manageable. Now, when, that was extended another 30 days, now we've run into, a whole host of issues where, I say us, I mean, we're a pretty lean organization, and, we've been able to react. But, when I say us, it's really in terms of, our tenants and our businesses that are in our centers. So now we have, stores that, let's say clothing stores, for example, have spring inventory that they, now is stale when they're going to be able to reopen. Even though they can open in June, let's say, most of them have had to fire employees or furlough. So, and now based on what the government has put in place for unemployment to help people, it's actually hurting some of the small businesses because these employees are making more on unemployment, than they really were employed, or very close to that same amount. So it's giving very little incentive maybe to go back, quick. And that's forcing some of these retailers to, not only, they can't just bring back the employees that they already spent time and, precious capital and human resources training, but now there's a retraining process. Now you have supply chain issues because you have inventory that's stale, and, you probably stopped, the purchase orders or things on new, clothes or products. So all those things are backed up from the supply chain. So for us, if we're like, all right, you can open your doors, everyone's paying rent, everything is back to normal, your sales are right back where they should be, that doesn't seem to be the case. and for all the issues I just mentioned. And then now you have the back end that I kind of explained of the stores and restaurants too. I mean, this goes for restaurants having to adapt. Now, a lot of our economy is consumer based, and you have a lot of food users, and everyone knows the direction that people were going, and not cooking at home and eating out more, and more restaurants opening, and that's fine. But you have a lot of restaurant workers now that are out of work, and they really produced a lot of discretionary capital into our economy. That's gone. So the restaurants, even though they're able, I mean, I think it's like the worst possible scenario for a restaurant, where you are able to open, but you can't let people inside. And even when you can, the first phase, it might be limited to 10 people, or half of the restaurant, 50% can be full. So now you have a business model that was created for a certain amount of seats. Every seat in a restaurant has a value to it that you get per year. And literally they calculate it. So if you're like, I get 30,000 a year from that bar stool, I get, whatever. So now you take those away, and, now your top line revenue is only so much that you can hit. So then you have to think about, if I'm just going to do in this interim pickup, I'm going to probably lose money unless I'm, had a huge pickup or walk-in type business, like a pizza place or something like that. And now you're just trying to stay relevant while losing money, hoping to get government relief and all that. So you're really doing it for your brand and to stay in front of the community. And the ones that go over and above by donating and doing all those kind of things, that's great. But, people have to realize, just because you and I are now ordering from this business, maybe once a week or whatever, they're not making money. They are probably barely surviving. So it's a lose-lose, because you don't even have the ability to execute your business plan under the ability to stay open. So, and then, they're dealing with the impacts of the, firing employees, all that, now they have to change menus because certain things don't travel well. And now all the food you're serving is traveling. So it creates like a whole host of issues. And every tenant is different. Some have a ton of debt, some don't have any debt, some are, well capitalized to work their way through this, some aren't. We've always stated that our main goal is to do whatever we can to make sure that every business that was open, pre-pandemic, opens back up post-pandemic. And, so far we haven't had any, I guess, major closures announced. But, when you look at the statistics now, it's pretty eye-opening when it seems like 30% of small businesses may never recover from this. And, with small business being really the backbone of communities and, our economy in general, I think that's devastating. And for morale as well. I mean, you feel good about the small businesses in your town, and, the flexibility and the ingenuity. But I think, inadvertently, what government has done now is tilted the playing field towards the big box stores. I mean, where can you go now for anything? It's Target, it's Costco, it's, the grocery stores, it's Walmart. Where can't you go? The local hardware store. You can't go to the, smaller tenants for clothing or necessities that probably could serve people in a responsible way. I'm not, taking a political position one way or another. This is strictly from a business point of view. It's a hard thing to do, and I don't envy people in those positions that have to make those decisions, potentially sacrificing health, because most people, especially elected officials, will err on the side of caution. If a business fails, or a bunch of businesses fail, yes, that's a tragedy, travesty. It's not something to feel good about. When people die, that's a whole other, that's a whole different story. So businesses dying versus people dying, I think, is really the, it's a national, dialogue now on that. And it's gotten very political, where, it seems like if you want business open, you're a Republican. If you, don't, you're a Democrat. And that's really shouldn't be the narrative. And I think, the media has been a huge problem, I think, for all of us right now, in that, I mean, for landlords itself, they were promoting people not paying rent. And, I think that was a lot of bad publicity out there. And, a lot of tenants, and I'm talking commercial tenants, more so than residential. And, we could talk about that too. Like our business obviously is collecting rent and providing space to do business. So a lot of tenants have taken a whole host of action to try and stay relevant and stay solvent. And it's run the gamut. So, we tried to be very proactive. So when we knew this was happening, we wanted to see what do we need to do to position our shopping centers to be the most accommodating to our customer base. And, as we're thinking through that, we talk to our tenants, we do a virtual town hall, we get input. And, I've had people calling, weekly, every single tenant to see, are you open? Are you offering curbside pickup? Is your online store active? What are your plans next week, next month, next year? And then we help push that and promote it because, there's always strength in numbers. So, we put in a lot of effort on the political side landscape. And I shouldn't say political, more like community government. And it's, really on the villages level of, employees and, not as much elected officials, but really the people running the day-to-day operations. To have that relationship where, if a tenant needs something, instead of them, maybe they haven't talked to the village, since they got their occupancy permit 2 or 3 years ago. And now they might need something or reading a code and are freaked out about putting a sign up. We're here to be that resource. Like we've put in the time and the,
let's talk about that for a second, Ramzi.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your tenants and maybe some of the ways that they are being, like you can provide them some shine, if you will, and how they're being innovative in this time with their curbside pickup. Maybe they're a retail store that's doing something cool and innovative so that we can highlight them and hopefully give them a little bit of support here through what we're doing today.
Yeah. So I would encourage, everyone to follow our social channels because we are promoting the heck out of, every tenant in every center and showing what they're doing. So, I think the centers in this area that we have are Orland Park Crossing. You can go to shoporlandparkcrossing.com, Burr Ridge Village Center.com. And that'll showcase, for example, we have a jewelry store like Mary Lou's Fine Jewelry that are, have adapted and, talking to someone like Mary Lou, who's been in business, I think almost 40 years. I don't want to get that wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 40 years. But she, I was on the phone with her talking about something. She's like, I didn't ever think and I hope she won't kill me, 70 something years old, I'm going, I'm online learning right now and taking classes on how to navigate my business in this time, which is beefing up their online presence, having an online store that now is, at the forefront, where before it was like an ancillary thing, like, oh yeah, and if you can't come in or for a while, just check out our online store. Now that's like the front facing thing. And, they had to work all that out. So, it's been promising. And one of the good things to come of this is to see how fast, some of these tenants can adapt. So, we can't do a ton on that front, except, make sure that when they do these curbside pickup, that we have the spaces available or blocked off and making sure, employees aren't parking there and all those kind of things. So right now we're working on, in conjunction with our tenants, making sure that that signage is big and bright and, very visible. So when people are driving through the center, they know, oh, here's a pickup, spot for Mary Lou's. When Xfinity opens again, like here's, Xfinity, the Brass Tap, they're doing, they've been doing curbside pickup. They've, really been pushing their food menu, and they're able to sell beer, curbside, which, when we talked, if we talked about this 3 months ago, you'd be like, you can pull up to a bar and, take beer to go. Never happened in a million years. You could ask the liquor commissioner. Never happened. And all of a sudden, that's what we're doing, handing beers to people to drive away in their cars.
Yeah, right.
So that's
So
the kind of thing.
Ramzi, let me take you down a quick road real quick. And so you've talked about businesses having to adapt, and we focused a lot on the retail front, but I'm going to take you down the path a little bit of the landlord side. So what is some of the adapting that a landlord has to go through, and maybe some of the steps that they've gone through? Maybe they furlough some payments. I don't know if that's true. Or what are some steps that the landlords are trying to work with the tenants to make it work and ease the pain going through, and how are they adapting to that?
Yeah. So that, we are, still a small business. So we don't, we want to be able to provide as much relief as we can. We also have to stay solvent. So it was kind of like we needed to see, what was available to us. I mean, we've applied for the PPP funds and all those things to be able to retain all our employees. And even though we haven't gotten funded yet, we do anticipate getting something. But yeah, we're very transparent with all of our lenders up front and saying, hey, here's the situation. We want to be transparent. And, in a credit to them, they understand the situation. And just like I don't want to squeeze, every last dollar out of my tenants, or let's say a certain tenant, just because I might be able to, or, per a lease or contract can, we want them to live after this. And that's the goal. So that was the same, conversation really I had with our banks. I said, listen, we've been around for 30 years. We've never missed a mortgage payment in our history. We actually are distressed asset investors and thrive in these kind of environments. So, and we have a pulse with, but we're not a, like out of state owner, which, hires a management company, hires this and just sifts through reports and tries to do the right thing. I mean, we're literally boots on the ground. So having them understand our situation and reacting to it was, what was really a great effort. And I think that showed the camaraderie in, understanding our business. And I need to understand their business too.
Mm-hmm.
What is important to you? Is it important that you get, and some of them were like, listen, here's what's important to me. Please pay all your, April, mortgage payments and this. And then, we think we can help you in May and June. And it's like, okay, hopefully you're not lying, but, good one.
Hope you hold that one up. Send me something in writing.
Yeah. So Ramzi, real quick. So, so going forward, what kind of confidence you could give? Because obviously you just admitted that there was some vulnerability on your side, but you guys are taking the precautions to make sure that you could retain the landlord status as well as working with the tenants. But how about giving confidence to future tenants? What are some things that maybe it changes the game that you're working on right now in case this happens again? What kind of confidence can you give that future tenant or current tenants of adapting for future trends if it were to occur again?
Yeah, I mean, and that's been, a lot of the talk is trying to figure out. So I talked earlier about, what we thought was going to happen, and now the stay-at-home order has been extended, and the long-term effects of this seem a lot more impactful than we originally thought. So we're looking at a lot of data from how China is recovering, how some of the European countries have dealt with it once the peak has been reached and is on the way down. And it's listen, it's not too bright, where restaurants are going to be not at full capacity for a long time, so their sales are going to be down, so they're are going to have to adapt to that, and different dining areas and social distancing, and your waiter waitress may have a mask on, and you might have your temperature taken before you walk in the door. So all those kind of things. And then a lot of our properties have valet, so how inclined are you going to be to give your car to somebody these days? So we're talking about things like, well, that might be difficult, so let's beautify the parking garages and parking lots and things like that to make it a little more inviting. But yeah, I mean, it's actually all about the future. So when this thing happened, we're like, yes, we can kind of sit and play defense, but that's not gonna move the needle much when this thing's over. So, and that was on the first call with all of our tenants. I kind of said, listen, we do need to figure out the now, but we also need to think about the future and figure out what that's going to look like and plan for that. Because if you lose all hope, you really have nothing left. So we wanted to make sure everyone was still keeping hope alive, and that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. And, we're doing things to help with that. So there's a lot of, once the centers are open fully, I mean, it should be almost like a celebration, where the community comes out and supports, whether it's, I mean, we're talking about like little things, like we might do like drive-by type things where, we just invite the community to drive by, honk your horn, like have the tenants like put things outside of the stores and kind of just have this like energy. Because that's what we're trying to, do is get it. It's a whole different way of thinking about, bringing people into the center. And that's really been our jobs this whole time. And that's what I tell our tenants, like, yes, you need to, do your job and have great service or products or whatever. And our job is going to be to bring people into the center as much as we can, whether that's by bringing complimentary tenants, to be next to you that will get a lot of footfall, or by our marketing efforts or whatever we're doing. So that's how we think we differentiate ourselves from a lot of other landlords. So, we're rolling out a program called Pop Local. So, obviously there's a huge push to shop local, but, we really want people to come out. We do have some vacancies, and even, spaces that aren't vacant, we create space to have vendors. We will sign, leases or license agreements for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year to people that want to sell something and have a storefront. So if you have something to sell or you have a business to promote, or, if unfortunately your business was affected by this and you had to close down your permanent location, come to us and we will give you a space to be able to showcase your business. And, that's a win-win for everybody. So we've already been, I guess, thankfully, thinking about the short-term nature of retail in general and activating vacant spaces and underutilized space in our shopping centers, while we're trying to get these permanent tenants. They don't need to just sit there with a sign in the window and we say, hey, we might get somebody that's going to pay us $100,000 a year, so we don't want to put anyone in here. Like, no, why don't we make that space, clean it up, paint it, make it usable. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of tenants that have gone out of business and bankruptcies through the recession. So we've collected all these fixtures. I mean, I got about 100 mannequins in every, shape and size, hangers and, anything for a retail store. Anyone that wants to showcase something, I have a fixture that they can use. And we can literally set up a store. So, we're looking forward to really rolling that out. And if we can help people that have been displaced, that'd be awesome. If we can help somebody that, wants to go out on their own and say, hey, I've been selling a few things online, I want to try a weekend, what's your busiest weekend at Orland Park Crossing? Or, what makes sense? I sell Irish, knickknacks and things like that. Maybe through for St. Patrick's Day weekend, you can have a space and promote it and all that. So they're going to be promoting it. We'll be promoting it. Our tenants benefit, and it's just more of a spotlight on, our centers. So, we're positioning ourselves in the future to be able to have spaces filled perpetually with a lot of different businesses. And I think that really would speak to the community in general, because now more people have a reason to say, hey, if you go there, this month, you might see something different there next month. And I think that is kind of a cool thing that the community will gravitate towards.
It's funny. It's like taking the gig economy and making it like gig tenancy, right? So you're it's a different, it's kind of like an Uber or that type of business model, but for commercial space. It's really an interesting look. And what I think too that we're seeing in the transition, and maybe you can speak to this, is that people are looking for more of the personal experience, right, as opposed to the communal one. As opposed, so is a shop going to turn into just basically fitting rooms, right? So that they can pre-order the stuff, it comes in, and then they don't have to go through racks where they would be touching things that have been touched all together. I think stuff like that, and even conversations we've had prior to this, you've given some indication of the way you think that the experience of shopping is going to change a little bit. Are you looking at, like, could you talk a little bit about, like, obviously touch points being the top of mind with everyone, handles on doors, banisters, stuff like that. What things do you foresee potentially Edwards Realty or either other general commercial shopping areas doing to really allow people to feel comfortable back in that space again?
Yeah. So, a lot of it is perception. And, from the get-go, we knew that a lot of our tenants would be closed, and we made a concerted effort to say, we are going to cut, some services, which, you don't need to, as much trash pickups and things like that. But what we're not going to cut are cleaning services and, security. So we actually increased cleaning. So even though there's nobody there, and some of these, employees are coming in and out, there's curbside, there's stuff like that. But we wanted to make sure that at least in the common areas and the spaces we control, that, we're sanitizing daily and multiple times a day. Actually, we're, cleaning and, picking up garbage and those kind of things that just make it, still presentable for people to come to and show that, hey, we're still here. We're paying attention to detail. We're not letting things go. But I do think perception is everything. So, we're adding, more hand sanitizer stations, to our shopping centers. If you're going in the parking garages, we're going to make sure that, the doors are, open. So you don't have to like push on doors and things if you don't have to. And obviously we still have to keep safety in mind, but a lot of those little things I feel like can go a long way. So, I have this like vision of, when the center's open, like you're looking, if you're looking at the center, you literally see every tenant's door, like, double doors, like wide open. So it's almost like, that is showing you're open for business. And that goes a long way. Now you don't have to worry about, pulling a handle and then who pulled it before you. And then do I sanitize in my car? And then do I sanitize again once I get in the store? So a lot of those, and we're putting suggested, requirements and guidelines for our tenants. You really can't force people to do things, but, to wear the masks, and those are all voluntary, but recommended. So, we put out those things. And I think that's really what we can do best, is be a beacon of information for our tenants, because what we found out is a lot of them, especially the small ones, you're trying to figure this stuff out. You're trying to, take care of your health and your family's health. And now you're trying to figure out like government relief programs. And then, like how you're dealing with employees. It's just a lot. It's a lot for small businesses to handle. There's not enough hours in the day. So if we can take, a little bit of that off their plate, but we have been helping with, questions on relief and, the PPP and all these other things as well. So, back to the shopping experience, it still comes down to experience. So we've always been big believers in, the experience of shopping and going to centers and downtowns is the reason that people are going to go. Products are available almost everywhere. So this experience will be a little bit different, but think about it. I was just on a call earlier today and saying, nowadays, think about what you did for your kids, I think you mentioned your kid just had a birthday, right? Think about what you did for your kid's birthday a year ago, or were planning or doing. It's so different from what it is today. So just people honking the horn, driving by the house on someone's birthday is like the best feeling in the world for them that day. If you said that, that would happen, a year ago, you'd be like, that's crazy, but that's what makes us happy now. That's what's giving people joy, because we've gone so much the other way, where I think if just a store being open, just the ability to, talk to somebody else on the other end from a safe distance is going to be in demand, and a huge pent up demand to just converse, share ideas, talk with a sales associate about their products, how you feel about them, what's coming next season, like personal touch. I saw something stupid on the news about, people, missing the, human touch. And, they were like, one of the solutions to that is just give yourself a big hug for about 5 minutes and, fake, the human touch of another person. And I'm like, really? That's what we've come to now? Like, we need to maybe hug ourselves to feel human interaction. So the yearning is there. And it's just, how do you direct, people to where like they're going to feel comfortable? And it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not like it's not like a race, where everyone's like, all right, businesses are open. You hear the shotgun and you're running to the stores. It's going to be this tentative kind of phased in approach. And we're going to continue to have to adapt, because the government and our consumers and customers and tenants are going to tell us, what they think is appropriate and what they're hearing as well. And then we'll have to adapt and we'll have to figure it out. But I think that our centers are positioned to come back pretty strong. I think that, by the fall, we really should be back rocking and rolling. And we really do need to have, and I don't mean we as in me, but everybody needs to have a great holiday retail season. And that would really show us that, hey, we're kind of back. Even if it was 90% of last year, that'll be a sign, because the stuff I'm hearing now, I mean, Live Nation isn't planning on doing concerts for 6 to 18 months. I mean, that whole thing, of live events and mass controls the economy. I mean, I just, know certain businesses that are around, let's say that, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, rely on that revenue from people coming into concerts from all over, 20,000 people, a sold out concert, and they do 30 of them. If you don't have that revenue anymore this year, that's devastating. So we'll see businesses close now, but I mean, there's going to be a lot more closures coming down the line as those things start to come to fruition, as the PPP funds start to run out. I don't mean the government stop, but like you can only carry things for so long. And then if you don't have the potential for that top line revenue that you were anticipating, it's going to be bad news. So unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of these things just start to happen. And it'll be devastating for communities and small businesses, and we'll all try and do our part. But I will say, we're not going to let businesses close without a fight.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Butch, you have questions? You were going to pop in. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
No, I think you covered a lot. We talked about the tenants and some of the possibilities that landlords are adapting to, and we talked about what landlords are doing going forward, some of the adapting that they're taking care of, and then how you're taking care of your clients and your tenants, and how things are going to roll out in the future and how you're going to rebound. I think you covered it quite a bit.
What's really interesting, I think, to me too, is that, I mean, obviously the power and the focus you guys are putting on supporting and marketing on behalf of your tenants, working to kind of adapt and create a better situation, I think puts you, like you said, in a really good place to relaunch and to show your value as a local, part of the community, as well as a, advocate for your businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it does take a lot of it is risky, because right when all this happened, we were a week or two into it, our marketing partner called and said, hey, what are we doing here? Are we just going to keep the lights on, the social media, and make sure people don't forget about us, or is it, are we going to continue our hard marketing pushes? And I'm like, I'm not, like, if our tenants aren't going to go down without a fight, neither am I. So we do have a little money left, and with that money, we want to use it to be aggressive and do everything we can so we don't have any regrets later on. So that's what I said, and she was like, okay, let's go. So Taylor and our team got together, and we have an even more robust marketing program, I think, than we've ever had, and we've been talking to our tenants more than we've ever talked to before. We're understanding their businesses. So listen, we're trying to find positives, from all of this, negativity floating around. And so we actually created a campaign for it too, which is called Center of Attention. So obviously we want, our shopping centers to be the center of attention in the communities, but we also want to highlight good things going on. So that was another thing that we were kind of just talking about. I'm like, and I don't want to highlight good things we're doing, because that's fine. Everybody should be doing good things. But I want to highlight, not only some of the things we're doing, but things that other people are doing in those communities, that our shopping centers do business in. So, this Center of Attention campaign is really going to put a spotlight on the good that is happening all around us. So when you go to our social media or you go to our website, and you follow us, you're not just, saying, oh, okay, there's a sale going on. Oh, okay. Yep, that event was canceled. It's like, no, that, hey, did you know this high school kid put together, a program to feed the seniors during this time? Did you know that, so-and-so, one of our tenants, Design Bar, is donating these care packages to medical professionals and are packing them themselves and have done hundreds and hundreds of these things. So we want to spotlight those things, and we want to be the center of attention and make sure we're putting that on others as well. And to really be, and I think that's when you start getting buy-in in the community. You're like, oh, you're not just trying to sell us a ton of shit or take our money. It's like, now that partnership, starts to feel a little more real, where it's a mutually beneficial type relationship. So, those are the kind of things we're going to be really rolling out hard. And you heard it here first, guys. Chicagoland Chats.
I like you breaking news on our show, but I absolutely agree with you 100%. I mean, the one thing I think tenants everywhere are going to need to ask themselves is, who was with me? Like, who stood with me during this difficult time? And if I got through that, I need to make sure I'm aligning myself with landlords and with team members and parts of and vendors and groups that were there to support, not necessarily those just asking for their piece at that time, right? And so I think it's awesome. I'm a huge fan, as you know, of Taylor. She and I work together on the arts and drafts, and she's a dynamo. And so I'm really excited for the things that you're gonna be able to provide to your tenants over here. And obviously we want to always allow people, or you, Ramzi, our guests, to give out their contact information, remind people where they can go to see this center of attention stuff, so that they can engage and give a little support to your business, or just support to the things that you care about.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, wants to open a business, is interested in our Pop Local program, has a story that they want to tell us about somebody in the community that we can spotlight through our Center of Attention campaign, you can email info@edwardsrealtyco.com. You can go to our website, edwardsrealtyco.com. You can follow us on social. And we can connect you with our shopping centers, our tenants, and some of these initiatives. I mean, we're still optimistic. So I think in order to be continuing to move forward, and we do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel's probably gotten a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we want to be movers and shakers in this time, and exactly like you said, Adam, we want people to remember some of the things that we did during this time, and we're going to remember, obviously all of us, how let's say our bankers treated us during this time, how our friends, our family, all other businesses treated you during this time. So we want that to be a positive coming out of this, and when somebody is interested in maybe coming to our center, the best compliment we can get is if somebody talks to an existing tenant and they're like, yeah, these, we love being here. We love the support we get. They're very responsive and they're a true partner in this. That's what moves the needle. So I think if people aren't getting some of those responses, or if they have reached out for help and have been maybe rebuffed, or, not listened to, and maybe you get that feeling like you're being set up to fail, we have a lot of space available, and we'd be more than happy to have those types of discussions. So
great.
That's awesome. Well, Ramzi, thanks again for sharing your time. It's been super interesting to kind of see on the ground what you're hearing and hear a little bit about what you're hearing from the different vendors and different store owners business owners that you're dealing with. Really appreciate your time. Butch, as always, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Thank you,
we're going to be on tomorrow. We have another Chicagoland Chats, and this afternoon we have a special one for the opening of the golf season, which is tomorrow afternoon. We're going to have some golf people on, letting you know what the experience will be like, how to go about with that. So thanks again, everyone. Ramzi, it's been an honor. Thank you. I'm so grateful for all of your leadership in the industry, and obviously in the chamber and everything else. So thanks again for sharing your time. Everyone, have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. Like I said, we'll be on later this afternoon with the little golf start off. So everyone have a good one. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your opportunity. Keep hope alive.